Well, a good afternoon to you and a happy new year. I'm Huey Poplock. This is the Central Florida Computer Society and the Windows Special Interest Group, or WinSIG, for Sunday, January 12th, 2020. So we're off to a new year, and one of many that we've been doing this presentation to the Central Florida Computer Society for the Windows Special Interest Group, and we also make it available online and we save it as a recording. Now today's going to be a little bit different because I am going to be playing a recording later on, and I'm going to stop the recording. There's no such a recording. The link to the recording I'll be using is on the WinSIG website, which is huey.net/WinSIG, or just go to huey.net and follow the menus for this meeting, and it will be posted, but the recording will be posted, but the listing of the items that I'll be covering are also there now, so you'll be able to get to them. So if you don't stay with us for the whole recording, or if those of you at home, or I'm sorry, those of you who are on the recording, you can go there and listen to a separate recording of that. Those of you at home will be getting it. I just won't be recording the recording. And with that cleared up, let's get started. If I can minimize this, and we'll bring up let's go to huey.net. So to remind all of you that huey.net is, I'm going to move it over here a little bit so I can do this. This is the huey.net website. If you go to WinSIG, I have added now a page for the notes for 2020. Notice they go down to 2008. We have notes, but here's the notes for today. And one of these is going to be, here's what will happen to your Windows 7 PC on January 15th, 2020. I am not going to cover that today because I understand you have a speaker coming in for your meeting, and he's going to be speaking about the changeover from the Windows 7 support, and the fact that you should go to Windows 10, and that's this coming week. The support for Windows 7 is ending. So you want to read that article, but I'm sure that a lot of that's going to be discussed in the main meeting today at CFCS. But for those of you who are online, you might want to go and read that article. I'm not going to cover it for today. And then the Windows Weekly is the recording I'm going to do later on. So we really only have three sections that I'm going to cover before that recording, and I do want to get started with that. So let's do that right now, and I'll bring this up. And I'm going to start with this item right here, and I knew it would go from here. Okay, do it again. There we go. How to add a drive to Windows 10 Taskbar. This is from Gizmo's freeware. And I'm going to demonstrate this but let me show you here. If you want to pick one of your drives, or even just a folder on one of your drives, what you're going to do is, let's get back out of this. Adding a drive to the taskbar makes it easy to access files, folders, and so on. Adding to the taskbar isn't easy as you think. Here's how to do it. You think you could drag an icon to the taskbar and have it added. Sadly, that doesn't work that way. If you're trying to drag a drive icon to the taskbar, it just adds it to the File Explorer. So here's how to pin a drive to the Windows 10 taskbar. Basically, here are the steps. First, you open up File Explorer, you find the drive that you want to add to the taskbar, you create a shortcut. We're going to do it a little bit different because I'm going to do an actual folder. So this, and what you're going to end up doing is you will put in Explorer, the word Explorer, before the entire location of the folder or the drive. So if you just want it for the E drive, you put Explorer, then E under the shortcut taskbar. Let me show you what I mean. It's a little more confusing than it needs to be by me explaining it. So what we're going to do is I am going to open up this PC or Windows Explorer, and this is I have a C drive and a D drive, and I could take one of those, but what I want to do is go to my D drive and go to the Documents folder, and then I'm going to go to the CFCS Win Virtual, and then I'm going to go to today's date. And this is where I store my files for each of my meetings. So this is the one that I want. So what I'm going to do is come up here in the address bar. I'm going to right mouse click. What I'm going to do is then copy the address. I've copied the address. If you want to see what that address looks like, let's just open up Notepad just briefly, and I'll paste it into that so you can see what the address actually looks like when we copy it. And that's what it looks like. It's D documents / CFCS WinSIG virtual / and then the date that I have for the folder is 2020_01. And that's the folder. So that's what we're going to put in. So what I'm going to do, whoops, well, that's all right. So I'm going to right mouse click on a blank spot on the menu or on the Windows screen, and I'm going to click New, and I'm going to come up here to Shortcut. Type the location of the item. Now I'm going to paste what I just copied, which is that. I don't need this part right here, and I'm going to delete that. So we've got the exact item here, but remember I have to put the word Explorer and a space. So I have Explorer, and then I have the location, and I put Browse. Now I don't have to browse because I already know where it is. Now I'm going to go to Next. I'm going to call it WinSIG Jan 2020. And I'm going to say Finish. I just made an icon right here. Well, it automatically puts it there because it's the way I've got it set up here. Is WinSIG Jan 220. If I click on that, it'll open that folder. But I don't like the little folder, so I'm going to go back in. I'm going to right mouse click, and now I'm going to go to Properties. And where it says here, Change Icon, I'm going to change the icon, and I'm going to change it to, let's change it to this, because there's people that are going to be at the WinSIG meeting, so I'll use that. It says change the icon. I tell it to apply. It changes the icon to it. Say OK, and now it's there. Now, if I double click that, it goes right to the folder that I want. So if you're working on a project, you're working on something that you have to keep going back to a special folder, instead of having to go through all of the go to the C drive or the D drive, and then the folder, and then the subfolder, and then the subfolder on that, you can set up a shortcut just to go to the folder that you want and get to it right away. And let me tell you one more quick trick that's not in this article, but something that I do. Let's go back to my Documents folder. Notice at the top of my Documents folder, I'm working on a project right now. I'm working on some website development. And I had the folder all the way down at the bottom, and what I had to do was scroll all of these folders to always get down to the W's in order to get to that. The way Microsoft and Windows sorts is it does characters first, numbers second, and then letters. So if you put a exclamation point in front of the folder name and then sort it again, it will then place it at the beginning of the alphabet, so it'll put it at the top of your list. So that's a good trick. And if you didn't know that, that's worth the time you came to this meeting. So thank you very much for attending.
Couldn't agree more, Huey. I also use spaces, 2 spaces, 4 spaces, 3 exclamation points. It often gets to a half a page before I get down to the letters.
Yeah, but I try to, some of the ones that I don't need in that format anymore, like for instance, this one right now, I really don't use this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here, take that, click. It now put it down here in alphabetical order, and if we go back to the top, it's no longer there. So the 2 that I use the most are for my presentations, for website development, and then I also have now a shortcut on the screen. So I hope I helped you with that. And with that, we'll go back to our list of things to cover for today. 12 unnecessary Windows programs and apps. Whoops, I clicked on the wrong button. So we'll close that out, and we're going to come here. Okay, well, I'm not going to cover all of these. I'm just going to go through the list, and you can go back down. And if there's any you're using, you can go ahead and read about it and decide whether you want to delete it or not. This was written just about a month ago. And how to check your installed programs. It tells you how to do that. So QuickTime is one. If you've got QuickTime on your computer, you really want to uninstall it. Apple hasn't supported the Windows version since 2016. If you're running some QuickTime files, you might want to think about it again and maybe not use them on your PC. And you should uninstall QuickTime. CCleaner. Now, there was a problem with CCleaner a couple of months ago. CCleaner is now owned by Avast. It was owned by Piriform, and Piriform was purchased by Avast. There were some security issues with it. I am not sure if they have fixed them or not. This article was written about a month ago, and even though Bob G., who is touring the state of Florida right now and is an Avast evangelist, is saying to use CCleaner, this article says you might want to think about it and be careful using it, and they suggest that you uninstall it. There are a lot of worse cleaners that you really shouldn't have on your computer, and these are other crappy PC cleaners. You may have installed them on purpose, accidentally installed them using installing some product. They may have installed it for you. If you find garbage like My Clean PC or PC Optimizer Pro in your installed apps, you should remove them. If you're using uTorrent, if uTorrent is installed, it once was a beloved tool, and lots of ads and there's lots of reasons to uninstall it. Your Shockwave player, Adobe Flash Player is dying a slow death. Adobe plans to stop supporting it this year. Similar runtime plugin, Adobe Shockwave Player, was discontinued almost a year ago. Company no longer offers it to download, and you're extremely unlikely to find a website that needs it, so you probably should uninstall it. Java, unless there's something special that you're using Java for. This is not JavaScript now, this is Java. Is another thing that in most cases you don't need, and you should uninstall it. Microsoft Silverlight is no longer used, and you can uninstall that. It also is similar to Adobe Flash, and most of the modern browsers don't even work with Silverlight. All toolbars and junk browser extensions. when you're wondering what to install from Windows 10, one of the most obvious candidates is junk in your browser. Toolbars are once far more prevalent problem, but modern versions of Chrome and other browsers render them less common. However, spammy extensions are still in the wild. So have a look at your programs list for toolbars like the Bing bar, Google toolbar, Ask toolbar, Yahoo toolbar, and the Babylon toolbar. If you find any of them, uninstall them. You don't need them. They're extras, and they are using resources, and they can become problems. Coupon printers for Windows. If you're a diehard coupon person, you might have coupons.com, but sometimes when you go to a website and they give you a special coupon, they want you to install a special program so you can print it out. If you've done that, you want to go back and uninstall that. In most cases, if I run into that problem, I just skip that coupon. It's not worth it for me to screw up my computer by installing a program just to print out a coupon to save 50 cents or $1 or even a percentage of that. Also, you want to delete any manufacturer's bloatware. A lot of computers come with programs already installed. They're another great candidate for the Windows 10 apps to uninstall. A lot of them, this is how some of the computer manufacturers, while they don't charge a lot of money for the computer in some cases, in other words, you're getting a computer fairly inexpensively, they're getting money from these software companies to automatically install or add to the base computer these programs. And you might want to take a look and see if there are any of those that don't need to be there and make sure that you remove them. Windows 10 also has some bloatware. Fighting manufacturer bloatware is annoying enough, but Microsoft includes a fair bit of its own. And this, there is another article called Windows 10 Bloatware Removal Guide. You might want to click on that and take a look at it. There are some things that you just don't need in Windows, and you can uninstall them. If you're using a program called WinRAR, I used to use it extensively many years ago. It still has an old school shareware license. You can download a trial for free and then it asks to pay and so on. But there's really no reason to use WinRAR anyways. 7-zip is free and a simple tool that most people, that takes care of what most of you need. And let's see, Windows 10 files and folders. The above programs are unnecessary because they no longer serve any useful function. If you uninstall something and find that you need it again, you can always reinstall it. But it's wise to do some cleaning on your system and remove old junky Windows 10 programs. And if you don't want to uninstall something entirely, you can perhaps move the program to another location. So, any questions on that article at all? All right. Let's go to something that I'm not going to get into. Whoops, again, I hit the wrong button. I don't want to do that. I want to click here. As many of you know, whoops, I hit the wrong one.
Huey, before you leave this
Sure.
subject, I sent a note to Mike and he hasn't answered yet. Mike Ungerman sent out a thing maybe 2 weeks ago about removing programs that are running in the background in Windows, many of which you're not even aware of. And I did that on my wife's computer, and I couldn't believe there were something like 35 programs, half of which I didn't even recognize. I eliminated all of them, and it really helped that machine perfectly.
When you say you eliminated them, what did you do to eliminate them?
I'm not sure if I disabled. Some of them I actually uninstalled. But just disabling stops them from running in the background, so you don't have to take them off.
And you got to that by doing what?
That is my problem. It was in a message that he put on the TechSig, and I thought I sent myself an email for it. I can't find it, so I've asked him right now to send that out on the group chat so we can all make a note of it and try it yourselves.
Okay, he's going to put it in the tech SIG, but for those people online, I'm sorry.
I see he's going to resend it. That's
Yeah,
terrific. Absolutely recommend it. Try it. You'll like it.
but it was a program that you ran, and not Task Manager. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
I ran it, but I don't recall what it was. I've done a lot of things since then.
Rod has a question here.
Okay, what I'll do is, Mike, would you? Well, if you he's going to post it. He's going to post the article here. So those of you who take a look at it in the chat, and if not, I'll also add it to the list of links on the page. So if you can't find it anywhere, you can find it there. So thank you, Stan, for that.
Question here, Rod.
I could suggest there's a package with utility called this internal suite that's written by Foley with Microsoft on the website.
What was the first word? A utility suite by whom?
By a guy named Rasanovich.
Rasanovich.
It's called Sys Internal Suite.
Spell that first word.
SYSIN.
Oh, Sys Internals.
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
Microsoft. Those are Microsoft products, and yeah, they're some of them. They've just started redoing them for Windows 10. They had stopped updating or coming out with new ones. They are utilities from Microsoft employees called Sysinternals. They are free. Using any kind of a utility like that, if you don't know what you're doing, they can be dangerous. You can screw up things, especially if they go in and modify the what's the word I want? The registry at all. So just be careful using any of them. If you're guessing or you don't understand it, don't run them, because they are geared for people that know what they're doing. That's the only precaution that I want to give about that. Okay, so this was the next article I'm going to talk about. The Best of CES. The Consumer Electronics Show changed their name just to CES because it's not just consumer electronics. It's all kinds of technologies now, a lot of them being automobiles and so on. And these were the winners of the best of the show. The first one is called Hydraloop. And what I did, and I think I probably closed them all, so I'm going to go ahead and open it by clicking here. What happens if I do that? There it is. Good. No, that's not what I want. No, it's trying to open it on my screen. So anyway, what it is, it's a water filtration system for your home. It's not widely in use. It's not only a charming bit of modern home decor, but it's also a highly sophisticated water purification system. This was one of the choices. It's a $4,000 product. It's not yet available in the U.S., but it's something to look at to see what's coming. Hang on, I got to clear my throat. And pop a cough drop in my mouth to try to help me here. But if it's something you might be interested in for your home and so on, take a look at the article. The next item is the best digital health and fitness product is Withings Scan Watch. And it might look like an analog watch because it has an actual watch to it, but it checks your heart rate and overall health. It will, if it finds an abnormal cardiac activity, it'll let you know. If you're asked to check your vitals with the onboard ECG, it can also track your sleep and look for sleep apnea with built-in SpO2 sensor. There was no price on that, as I recall, or no, it was $200. I think it was $250 and $300. There's two different models by sizes. So if that's something you're interested, I don't know whether it's available yet. Again, the CES show is usually items that will be coming out later in the year or just plain later. This is one that looks interesting called the Olive Union Smart Ear. It's not a hearing aid, and it's not a Bluetooth speaker. It's kind of in between. It's a hearing aid disguised as a true wireless Bluetooth earbud. It helps reduce the stigma that can come from wearing a typical behind-the-ear device. It's more affordable than a hearing aid, and yet it has some premium features like music streaming, different listening modes, and hands-free calling. Unlike true earbuds, though, it's sold as a single unit. You only get one. To amplify the sound if you're someone who needs some better to help hearing better. It's not a hearing aid. It's not a speaker. It's kind of in between them. And I believe the price on that's going to be, I think I saw it was like $150. It might be $250. Worth taking a look at if it's something you're interested in. Hearing aids start at thousands of dollars, and in most cases, most health plans and insurance plans don't cover them. Best transportation technology, the Wallbox Quasar. And it unlocks one of the exciting technologies for the automobile, the ability to use the battery pack to power your home and sell power to the grid. It's only available with a couple of brands of cars. It's not available for most homes and cars, but it's some new technology that might be, if something you're interested in, you might want to take a look at. Dolby Vision IQ. I'm not a TV expert by any means, so a lot of this stuff I don't understand, but if it's something you're interested in, this would be something for you to take a look at. The next one is the Weber Connect Smart Grilling Hub. It was something that you use with a Weber grill. It's not a grill itself. You buy the grill and then it works with your is the way I understand it. But if you really want to be the true IoT and mobile home and electronic home, is something to take a look at. This is something new. And a lot of the CES podcasts that I've been listening to all have mentioned it, is one of the ones that people kind of were talking about. So you might want to take a look and see what they're saying about it. The best phone or mobile device is a Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Lite. Just this week, I had my phone is a Samsung, but it's a Galaxy S8, and now they came out with the S9 and S10, and they're about to, I think later this month, they're going to announce the S11. So I'm several versions behind. But I was having a problem with my phone, so I went over to the AT&T store, which is right across the street from me. AT&T is the service I use. And one of their fellows was able to uninstall and reinstall, so I wasn't getting lockups using with Bixby, trying to update. And he fixed it for me. But while I was waiting for him, I looked at the Samsung foldable phone. Quite thick, a lot heavier than I would want to carry, but when you open it, it's twice the size of a regular phone screen, and there's no crease in it. It's a bendable screen. Interesting. But the cost is $71 and change a month for 30 payments, or about $2,100. Not the phone that I'm going to buy, but it's interesting technology, these foldable screens. And I do understand that several manufacturers, including Microsoft, are going to have foldable screens on tablets or on phones. The Microsoft, of course, will be on a tablet, but the Microsoft has a hinge in the middle where a lot of them are bendable or foldable screen, regular screens. It's not two pieces with a hinge between them. It's actually folds over. And a lot of the questions is how long will that last before it cracks or breaks? It's going to be interesting, but they are extremely expensive at this point. Best TV product is an OLED, which are becoming popular. LG now has some less expensive models coming out. And so if you're into TVs and are looking at some, you might want to look at it. Most of the new TVs, the big TVs that they're showing at CES are 8K, and nothing right now is broadcasting in 8K, but 8K is, I believe, 4 times faster than 4K. It's not twice as fast. It's, I believe, 8 times faster. But nothing's sending out 8K. So like the 4K was a couple of years ago, it's not really available yet. But if you like the latest and greatest, then you might want to look at 8K TVs. They're not cheap. Best gaming product, if you're interested in gaming. Here's an item that's not out yet. Sony has a Vision S concept car. I've not really read into this too much. It's strictly a concept, but it might, if you like to keep up to what's coming and what's down the road, you might want to take a look at that part of the article. And then the Insta360 ONE-R is a camera that's comes in pieces. It comes in parts, so it can be a 360 camera or it can be just a standard camera, highly mobile, and can be used with a drone. They call the best PC or tablet the Dell XPS 13, so it's a 13-inch, and it's the 2020 model.
Richard is nodding. Is that yours?
I'm sorry?
You got that a year or two ago, didn't you?
I have a Chromebook Dell, and it's not an XPS. Mine is a, I can't remember the, what do they call the models of these? Experian. But that's the XPS, which is their one of their best models, and that's and that's a 13-inch. That's a Windows machine.
Huey?
Yeah.
This is Dick. I have the XPS 13. It's a couple of years old, but it's an awesome computer.
Yeah, it's been highly rated for a couple of years, and now there's a newer version of the 13. When most likely it's got, and let's see if this article tells us what the difference is. It's more convenient, 16 by 10 display. The keyboard's wider edge-to-edge layout. There's some other things different and new about it. So if you want to update it, you might want to take a look at that. If you are looking for a new computer, and I don't think they're definitely not the cheapest model of Dell's. I don't know if they're on the expensive end or not. And then the best robot or drone, if you're into drones, I'd love to have a drone, but the fact that they can drop out of the sky and break into a million pieces or even into 2 pieces, I wouldn't know what to do at that point. So I am not considering ever having a drone, especially with a camera on it, because if it hits the ground, that camera is probably gone too. And so whatever money you've got into it. So it's an expensive hobby, but I know some people who love it. I've seen some results of some videos that they've taken with them that are just phenomenal. But you got to know what you're doing, and in order to get to know where you're going, is you're going to have to go through some crashes. When you go through some crashes, you're going to have to go through some replacement or fixing. So just something to think about. But drones, there's a lot of them out there. And the best sustainability product is, again, that Hydraloop that we talked about earlier. And that's it on that article. So let me get out of this. Come on. Any questions? Mike did put in the link, and let me copy it, for the article on This was for a special service I wanted to remove, but in the article you'll see many other programs and services you may not want. So I'm going to put a link to that article on the web page. So those of you who are online will be able to see it. So what I need to do now is I'm going to preface what I'm going to be talking about, but I got to stop the share and then come back in with the share, but add a link. I'm going to close this off.
Are we still gonna need to switch hosts?
Nope.
Okay, very good. I'm gonna make a quick pit stop.
Okay, so I'm going to share that. You should see my screen, and then what I'm going to do is come here. Before I start it, what I would like to preface what this is. I listen to a podcast on a regular basis. I listen to several of them from an organization called TWIT, T-W-I-T, or This Week in Technology. It's owned and run by Leo Laporte, who's been around podcasts and TV, technology on TV for years and years. He's excellent. They have a lot of really good podcasts, but one I listen to on a regular basis called Windows Weekly. This was from the Windows Weekly, and it's once a week, but for the last couple of weeks in the year, they always have reruns and highlights of the year and so on. So this was the last program, live program they had, and they're all recorded and online as well, but this was the last one for 2019, and every year in the last 5 years, they've featured the marketing manager or their marketing CEO. Let's see, the marketing officer, chief marketing officer of Microsoft, and this is him with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jane Foley, who are the regular correspondents on that program, along with Leo Laporte, and Chris Crisolo is the chief marketing officer, and he is going to be downright open about a lot of the things that are going on at Microsoft, including Windows. But Windows is not a major part of Microsoft anymore, although, believe it or not, it's still one of their major money makers, even though you don't spend any on it. A lot of people do, a lot of the big companies and so on. But what I would like you to do is view this. I am going to stop the recording before we do that because, as I say, the link to that is, I'm going to stop the recording now, pick up the link, and watch it from the link online. So I am going to stop the recording now. Thank you for joining. This is the CFCS WinSIG for January 2020.